All right, if you're gearing up for that AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam, there's one topic you absolutely cannot ignore: security. Specifically, what's standing between your application and a massive cyber attack. Today, we're going to break down AWS's front line of defense: Shield, WAF, and Firewall Manager. Let's make sure you're ready to nail those security questions.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we've got to understand the enemy, right? So we'll break down DDoS attacks. Then we'll look at the tools AWS gives us to fight back. That's Shield, WAF, and Firewall Manager. And to wrap it all up, we'll see how they all fit together in a real-world defense strategy.
All right, first things first. You're almost guaranteed to see a question on the exam about this. What's the real difference between a DOS and a DDoS attack? They sound super similar, but trust me, the difference is huge, and it all boils down to one word: scale.
Yeah, this visual just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got your standard denial of service, or DOS attack. Think of it like a one-on-one fight. But over on the right, that's a distributed denial of service, a DDoS attack. This isn't a fight, it's an ambush. The attacker uses a whole army of infected computers, a botnet, to just bombard the target from all sides at once. It's a tidal wave of traffic, and that's what we've got to be ready for.
Okay, so we get it. The threat is big and distributed. Now let's dig a little deeper, because to really build a solid defense, you have to know exactly how these attacks work. So for the exam, you'll want to remember this. DDoS attacks basically come in two flavors. You've got your infrastructure layer attacks. Those are your layers 3 and 4. Think of these as just raw brute force attacks. They're trying to clog up the pipes with a massive volume of traffic. But then you've got the sneakier ones, application layer attacks at layer 7. These are much more sophisticated. Instead of flooding the network, they target specific parts of your app, like a search bar or a login page, to try and wear it out.
Okay, to get why one of the most common attacks works, we first need to see how a normal connection is made. It's called the three-way handshake, and it's pretty simple. Your computer sends a SYN packet. That's like saying, "Hey, can we talk?" The server replies with a SYN ACK, which is like, "Sure, I hear you." Then your computer sends back a final ACK to say, "Great, let's connect." Boom, connection made. And this is where the bad guys get clever. A SYN Flood attack totally abuses that handshake. It's exactly like a prank caller tying up a phone line. The attacker just spams the server with that first hello, that SYN packet, but then it never follows up to complete the conversation. So the server is left holding the line for all these half-open connections, and pretty soon it runs out of resources to answer any real calls. So that's the threat. Pretty scary stuff, right? So how does AWS help us fight back? Well, your very first line of defense is a service called AWS Shield. Honestly, the best way to picture Shield is like a bouncer at a club that's always on duty. It's automatic. It's always on. You don't have to flick a switch or set anything up for the basic protection. It's just there, built right into AWS, protecting you from those common noisy attacks.
Okay, pay attention here because this is a huge exam topic. You absolutely need to know the difference between the two tiers of Shield. First up is Shield Standard. This is what you get for free with every AWS account. It's automatic, and it protects you from the most common layer 3 and 4 attacks, those big network flooding ones. Then you've got the big brother, Shield Advanced. This is the paid premium service, and for that money, you get way more. Enhanced protection that also covers layer 7. You get 24/7 access to the AWS DDoS response team. These are the real experts, and you even get cost protection, which is huge. And yeah, let's talk about that price tag. For Shield Advanced, you're looking at $3,000 a month. That number should stick in your head for the exam. It tells you right away this isn't for a personal blog, it's for serious, mission-critical applications where even a few minutes of downtime could be catastrophic. But that cost buys you something really valuable. Just listen to what Kensuke Ota from BitBank said.
It's all about peace of mind. When you're under attack, you can literally get on the phone with AWS experts. That means your team can keep focusing on what they do best, instead of scrambling to fight off an attack.
Okay, so Shield is our always-on bouncer, handling the obvious trouble. But what about the more subtle threats? We need to give our bouncer a specific guest list, a rule book, and that's exactly what AWS WAF is for. WAF stands for Web Application Firewall, and its name tells you everything. It operates at layer 7, the application layer. Its whole job is to look at the web traffic, the HTTP requests, coming to your app and decide what to do with them based on a set of rules that you create. And this is where WAF really shines. It's all about precision. While Shield is dealing with a massive flood of traffic, WAF is like a detective inspecting every single person trying to get in. You can write rules to block traffic based on where it's coming from, like a specific country. You can tell it to look for telltale signs of malicious code, like an SQL injection attack. You can even protect really specific parts of your website, like your admin login page. This is your go-to defense against those classic web attacks, like the ones you see on the OWASP Top 10 list.
All right, so we've got Shield for the big infrastructure attacks and WAF for the detailed application attacks. That sounds like a great combo, right? But what happens when your company isn't just one application? What if you have dozens or even hundreds of AWS accounts? That's where things get complicated, and it's where our third service, Firewall Manager, becomes a lifesaver.
Yeah, just try to put yourself in the shoes of a security admin at a big company that's all in on AWS. You could be responsible for security across hundreds of different accounts. Are you really going to log into every single one to set up the same WAF rules over and over? No way. It's not just tedious, it's a recipe for mistakes. And that is the exact problem Firewall Manager was built to solve. Firewall Manager basically gives you a single pane of glass, a central command post for your security. From one administrator account, you can set up your security policies, like your baseline set of WAF rules. Then you can automatically deploy those rules and even your Shield Advanced protections across your entire organization. Best of all, it enforces those policies. So anytime a developer spins up a new account or a new app, it automatically gets that baseline protection. It's all about security and governance at scale.
Okay, we've met the players, Shields, WAF, and Firewall Manager. Now for the fun part. Let's see how they all work together as a team in a real, robust, DDoS-resilient architecture.
This diagram right here is the aha moment. This is what it looks like when you put it all together. What you're seeing is a concept called defense in depth. It's not about relying on one magic bullet. It's about having multiple layers of security, so if one fails, another one is right there to back it up. So let's follow a single request from a user. Before that request even gets anywhere near your actual servers, it hits the edge of the AWS network, maybe a CloudFront distribution point. And right there, at the very edge, Shield Standard is already working. It's automatically filtering out those big, noisy infrastructure attacks before they can cause any trouble. But let's say the request makes it past Shield. It's not in the clear yet. The very next stop, still out there on the edge, is AWS WAF. This is where your custom rulebook gets checked. WAF is now inspecting the request itself, looking for things like SQL injection or cross-site scripting. If it finds anything suspicious, that traffic gets blocked right there. It never even gets to sniff your application's front door. Only the clean, legitimate traffic gets to pass through.
Okay, let's boil this all down for your exam notes. Here are the key takeaways. Shield Standard, that's your free automatic bouncer for infrastructure attacks. AWS WAF, that's your custom rulebook for web traffic at layer 7. Shield Advanced, that's your premium paid upgrade with 24/7 experts on call. And finally, Firewall Manager, that's your central command center for enforcing all these rules across your entire organization. Got it?
Good.
So as you're studying, and more importantly, as you're thinking about building on AWS, just remember that security is never one size fits all. What you need for a small personal blog is totally different from what a global bank needs. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. For whatever you're building next, which layer of defense is the most critical? Is it the broad protection of Shield or the surgical precision of WAF? Thinking through that answer is the key to building something truly secure.